A preacher, while proclaiming the good news of Jesus Christ, was shot in the head on the street corner. Guys, this is a sad story, but let's talk about it here on All Things Theology.
All things theology, all things theology. We chop it up properly without an apology. Gotta give doxology to God, hallowed be, cause this is how we do it at All Things Theology.
Yo, grace and peace. Welcome back to another episode of All Things Theology, where this is your host, K-Dub. And today we're going to talk about Hans Schmidt, who was shot while preaching the gospel. As a fellow open-air preacher, I am encouraged by Hans' dedication to proclaiming the good news of Jesus Christ. But this story is one of sadness that just exposes the evil of today, and it shows why the need for people like Hans and every Christian to go out and spread the good news. It is because of our evil hearts, and this is an evil story by the person who committed these evil acts. And I think we need to be bringing back that term evil in society. And so let's share this article and let's talk about it.
A lot of prayers are pouring in for Hans Schmidt tonight. The beloved husband, father, and religious leader was shot while spreading the word of God Wednesday night, and friends and family can't understand why.
Who knows why someone would take it out on a preacher like that, because he's speaking the gospel and the good news to everybody. He's out to help the community.
Now, I would argue it probably was shot because of the gospel. Someone probably didn't like their sin being called out or specific sins being called out. I have experienced fits of anger when going out to preach the gospel, not to this extent, but people do not like the gospel. They do not love God, right? And this is why we should be going out proclaiming the good news of Jesus Christ, because people need it, right? We need it. And so I would argue they did this because of their hatred of God.
Arizona's family has learned that Schmidt was out street preaching at the intersection of 51st Avenue and Peoria in Glendale around 6 o'clock Wednesday night. It's something he reportedly did on a regular basis before helping lead weekly services at the Victory Chapel as the door director.
Now, I was very encouraged by this young man's dedication to proclaiming the gospel weekly, often. He is described as a man who is a street preacher, right? And I do love that. But one thing I was blessed by and reminded of is Matthew chapter 5, verse 11, where it says, blessed, or chapter 10 or verse 10, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of God. If anything can be described as fitting of this verse, it is, willing to proclaim the gospel, even in the midst of something like this being shot. I'm sure if he was to ask you, he would probably still preach the gospel, even if he knew this. Christians are willing to lay their lives down for the sake of others.
At some point while Schmidt was on the corner preaching, someone came by, shot him in the head, then took off.
Read verses, preach a little bit. And
Paul Sanchez works nearby and says when Schmidt was out preaching, some people drove by screaming and cursing at him.
a slurry of everything, really. Hateful comments, people yelling at him, just get off the street, all sorts of mean things.
Sanchez never imagined things would escalate, especially since he says Schmidt never confronted anyone or responded to the mean comments.
Just before service, yeah.
Larry Detman was at services here last night when the pastor announced what happened. Minutes later, the pastor ran off to the hospital to check on Schmidt.
Out of nowhere, how does this happen? There's some evil people in this world that got a bunch of human junk in their life, and they take it out on somebody else. So people are following darkness instead of light, asking God to help them and heal them.
It is still unclear whether the street preacher was shot by somebody driving by or if somebody walked up, shot him, then ran off. So far, no arrests have been made. As for the street preacher's condition, Glendale police have not provided any updates. As soon as we learn anything new, we'll let you know. In the West Valley, Jason Berry for Arizona's Family.
So at the time of this recording, it is unsure. He has not been pronounced dead. Obviously, we want to pray for Hans Schmidt, his family, on his recovery, his healing, and the preservation of his life. Difficult story. Well, the police department did give some words, and let's take a look at this here. We want to share that.
So the subject was at 51st Avenue in Peoria on the northwest corner, where he was preaching about a church service at a local community church. It is unknown at this time how Hans was shot. We are seeking the public's assistance in obtaining any information regarding what could have happened. If you saw a vehicle or an individual or have any information regarding what occurred, we're asking that you contact the Glendale Police Department at 623-930-3000. Now, 51st Avenue in Peoria is a very busy intersection. So we know for a fact that there were people within the area, there were vehicles driving within the area. So we believe there is somebody within the valley that does know something about what happened. So we are.
And I'm hoping that justice is brought to a swift end, that this person, man, female, we don't know, is caught. Multiple people, even, we don't know, that involved in this heinous evil. I'm hoping that they're caught quickly. And so obviously, if people know anything, I encourage them to speak out and to, if they're in that area, they know, please call this police department and participate in bringing this to a quick end.
Asking that you contact the Glendale Police Department at 623-930-3000. We would also like to say this is a horrible, horrible offense. Mm-hmm. We have a 26-year-old who was a military medic. He is recently married, he has 2 small children, and he's currently in a critical state. So it is imperative that the public reach out if you do have information so that we can bring justice to Hans and his family.
Mm-hmm.
The intersection itself you mentioned was really busy. Has police reviewed video at all of the assault and the shooting?
So because there are a ton of businesses within that area, our detectives are reviewing a huge amount of surveillance footage. So that's part of the investigation and part of the leads that we're following up on.
Given that the pastor, the armed service or the service member was preaching at the time, could the investigation involve? Are detectives looking into a possible hate crime?
Our detectives are going to follow up on every lead.
So the question I was asked is, since this man was preaching the gospel, and it seems that's why he was murdered or, shot, will this be considered a hate crime? And it seems she's saying, well, they're going to kind of investigate every kind of avenue for this.
And based on the information they obtain regarding the investigation, they will charge appropriate charges, whether that's a hate crime or not.
It should be.
It's too early to determine if this crime was committed by someone in a vehicle or on foot.
That's correct. It is too early to determine whether or not this was committed by somebody who was driving by or on foot, or if it's related to Shannon's Law, where somebody shoots a firearm round up into the air and then it comes back down. So we are really looking into all leads, and that's where we're requesting the public's assistance. Because there's so much foot traffic, because there's so much vehicle traffic, and there's so many businesses in the area, we truly believe there's somebody who does know something about what occurred.
Speaking of Shannon's Law, were you guys able to detect a gunshot in that area consistent to what happened to him?
Are you talking about shot spotter?
Yes, shot spotter.
Okay. We do not have a shot spotter activation within that area at this time.
Was it a Good Samaritan that took him to the hospital, or somebody you knew, or who was able to get him to the hospital?
I'm not entirely sure on that answer.
The assault and then the shooting, what was the order of it? What happened first?
So the first thing that happened is Hans was driven to the hospital. At the hospital, the initial call for service came out where it was believed it was an assault. Medical staff later determined there was a gunshot wound. And so our investigation changed from an assault to an aggravated assault at that point.
It's our understanding he's not doing well. Can you share as to where he was shot?
I'm not going to share where the victim was shot at this time. However, I can say there is one gunshot wound and the victim is in critical condition.
From my understanding, I think I saw a Facebook post that he was shot in the head. And so right? That's very unfortunate. But again, to this recording, he is still alive.
He's not able to give you any information about that.
No, at this time, the victim is in critical condition, so we are not able to speak with him.
There is any other agency or law enforcement involved in the investigation?
We will work with any law enforcement agency that has information regarding this incident. The closest neighboring agency would be Phoenix, and so if Phoenix has information, they will obviously provide it to us, and we will share information with them.
Was he with other people when he was preaching on the street?
Presently, to my knowledge, he was preaching alone on the northwest corner at 51st Avenue in Peoria.
Do you happen to have any information on if he does this regularly?
To my knowledge, I'm not entirely sure if this is a regular incident. I do know he recently moved to Arizona, so I'm not entirely sure.
And we still do not know who drove Hans to the hospital.
I do not know for sure who drove him to the hospital. I know his family was within the area.
There's any safety advice for the community when they see, if somebody sees this kind of scenarios?
So one of the things that the Glendale Police Department really preaches to the public is if you see something, say something. And in this instance, that's exactly what it is. We really need the public's assistance to obtain information as to what occurred. If you saw a suspicious person, if you saw somebody with a firearm, if you saw a car driving by that you thought stood out in a manner that was uncommon, we're just asking that you give us a call. Please contact our non-emergency number at 623-930-3000.
And so there we have it. That is the story of Hans Schmidt and the incident that occurred on Wednesday. Guys, please pray for Hans Schmidt, his family, his children, the community, the church there. Obviously, I'll share this article in the link below, and also a link to give if it's so impressed upon your heart to do so. Again, prayers for Hans Schmidt and his willingness to go out and share the gospel. And may that provoke us to go and share the good news of Jesus Christ, despite the consequences of what may happen. Again, prayers for him and his family. Till next time, grace and peace. Yo, grace and peace. Thank you for watching another episode of All Things Theology. If you enjoyed what you heard today, go on and give me a like. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. I promise to give you weekly lives, videos, interactions, exposing false teachers, sharing with you, the viewer, my theological beliefs, things about the culture, and the Bible. So if you're here for that, come on and join us. Also, if you would like to support this channel financially, you can do so by becoming a Patreon member or a YouTube member. Links are in the description below. You can see content before it drops. You can also have Q&A sessions with also other Patreon members, YouTube members as well. So if you would like that, hit the description link in below.